Good afternoon. This is a special meeting of the Cameron County Commissioners Court, September the 3rd, 2009. It is now 4 p.m. As we do all meetings, we'll start with an invocation, followed by the pledges to the U.S. flag and the Texas flag. Commissioner Tamayo, would you like to lead us in the invocation, please?
Martha's not here.
No.
Please stand. Dear Heavenly Father, give us the guidance that we need as we go through this meeting. Help us, dear Lord, to find ways to meet our needs and meet our goals. Help us as we go through the week and the following weeks, that we do the right thing for the right reasons. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I'd like to ask Jessica Ruiz to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag and the Texas flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, Mr. Barrera has a different version. He has the session version.
Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Garza. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Just two items. They're right here, sir. Can't see without them.
Item A, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Jerry Perez Jr. versus Cameron County, the Director of the Carrizales Record Detention Center, C.O. Galvan, C.O. Jewell, C.O. Gonzalez, Corporal Grion, Civil Action Number B-09-019, authority to represent the county pursuant to Code Section 551.0711A. Deliberation regarding real property concerning the concession agreement South Padre Island Water Park Limited pursuant to Code Section 551.072. Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Wood, to come out of executive session. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item A, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Jerry Perez Jr. versus Cameron County and others. Do I hear a motion to authorize our civil division to represent Cameron County?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item B, deliberation regarding real property concerning the concession agreement with South Padre Island Water Park. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge the report of counsel and Mr. Boulevard and proceed on the terms and conditions as discussed?
So
moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Garza. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Public comment. Anybody sign up for public comment? Yes, ma'am. You can do now. Yes, ma'am. But let me ask you, is the public comment about the tax rate or the budget? Because we have another item, another meeting at 5 o'clock to discuss that if you want to save your comments for then, or if you're welcome to do it now. Yes, ma'am. The tax rate discussion and the budget discussion is at 5 o'clock. Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Item 4, presentation of a resolution honoring Mr. James Brady Parker for his many years of service in law enforcement. Is Brady here? I didn't see him.
Judge, we'll need to table this and we'll put it on back for the October 1st meeting.
Okay, then we need to go back and then, do we have to change the date or just leave it like that on the resolution?
No, you can leave it like that because we're just going to present it.
Okay, very good. Do I hear a motion to table?
Motion
by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Consent items. Are there any items any member of the court wish to take out and discuss separately?
HH.
Item HH.
I have a question on I.
Item I. Item HH. I thought that was one that we were going to table and discuss it under the regular.
We have a supplemental agenda on the regular meeting, so we can table it.
We'll table item HH.
We're going to table it?
Yeah, because it's on the supplemental. We'll talk about it
Okay,
then.
there was one more. Hold on just a second.
Okay,
Which one is the one, Mr. Hinojosa, that deals with Bass Boulevard? Is it on the next agenda or on this agenda? I can't. It's in the next agenda? Okay. Never mind then.
Okay, let me have a motion on all the consent items, 5A through double I, with the exception of,
Can we also put out 5B for discussion?
okay, with the exception of 5B, 5I, and double H will be tabled. I hear a motion for approval with the exception of those three above.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item B, consideration and authorization to approve the master license agreement, software schedule, and support agreement, and the statement of work for the electronic agenda by Manatron, Inc.
Judge Commissioners, in discussing the contracts with legal, we had some changes and some updates to the actual master agreement. And the only thing that was left pending was the statute of limitations. It was indicates 2 years, and legal's recommendation was to make it 4 years. We have everything else in place without exception, and I've asked the Manatron to go ahead and make those corrections, and we're preparing the updated contracts just to make that one change. So with legal's recommendation, and I've asked the court if approved pending that change.
How many changes was that?
It's just one change,
One
Commissioner?
change?
Yes, ma'am. It's on 18.6 on the master agreement, and it just needs to be changed from a 2-year statute to a 4-year.
Motion for approval pending the change as recorded.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion?
One question. Why do we need more time? Wouldn't 2 years be sufficient to know that it's working properly?
No, the statute of limitations, Commissioner, is for bringing a lawsuit, and by law, breach of contract case has a 4-year statute of limitations. They want to shorten it to 2 years, and we don't ever really give up time when, statute says otherwise.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item I, consideration of approval of renewal agreement with the Cameron County Emergency Services District Number 1 to provide fire marshal services to the Cameron County Emergency Management Department.
Okay, I just had a question. Where does that money go into the budget for the Cameron County?
It's actually budgeted as a revenue within the emergency management budget.
How's that again?
It's budgeted as a revenue within the
Oh,
emergency
as a
management
revenue.
budget. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Motion for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, do I have a second? Second. By Commissioner Wood, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Budget amendments, item double H, that's been tabled. Item 6A, budget amendments, line item transfers, and salary schedules.
Judge and Commissioners, I place before you, I think it's four pages of line item transfers within the departments, reallocating funds. Let's see if there's anything. Nothing really out of the ordinary. The very last page is actually...
Except for fuel?
Sorry? No fuel.
Huh?
No fuel.
How about 830, 6690?
830. 6690, hold on.
That's just a reduction? Or an increase, or what?
Oh, I apologize.
Looks to me like,
Didn't read. Yes, the parks. They're reallocating funds for equipment maintenance and vehicle repairs. Apologize, I missed that one.
were those the only line items that we could use for that? Yeah? There was nothing else,
I'm sorry, Judge? Commissioner?
Was that the only line item that we could use for that transfers? You didn't have any other? Because I think that we had pretty much gone on record that we didn't want to do fuel transfers, and we wanted them to go into the surplus for next year, right?
Yeah, those were the only two items that we could pull money out of. We checked them all, and all the budgets that we had, see if there was any surplus in any of them.
So there's no surpluses in any line item? Okay.
The last page is actually setting up the funding for that particular grant, which began September 1st.
How many employees are part of that?
Of this grant, Pete, from the case management?
There's 3 full-timers. We have Ms. Sanchez under there, the director, and we have an administrative assistant gets paid 10% off the grant, and then we're setting up funds for a part-time social worker.
So you have 4 full-timers in,
3.
including the director?
The director gets paid a percentage of her salary. It's like 44% of her salary.
And then the part-timer.
And then the part-timer, it's, yeah. It's like 3 and 3.7.
Okay.
You have something else?
Any other questions?
What does CSHCN stand for? Oh, okay.
Anything else, Javier?
Nope.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion for approval.
By Commissioner Benavides, and by Mr. Tamayo, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, item carries. Item B, claims.
Judge Commissioners, I have warrants number 224765 through 225173. We also have 2 claims that were processed for the Health Benefits Fund, out of the Health Benefits Fund. One of them is for Caremark, $57,895.84, and another one to Blue Cross Blue Shield for $68,317.37. Also payroll dated September the 4th of 09 for $1,650,623.26. For your approval.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second, Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Garza. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Please note my abstention on the following warrants: 225137, 225146, and 225158. And I'll provide the affidavits to you tomorrow. Approval of minutes for August the 6th, 2009, special meeting, August 6th, 2009, regular meeting, August 13th, special meeting, August 20th, 2009, regular meeting. Are those ready for approval?
Yes.
Motion for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wood. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item D, consideration action for the bus systems report on fiscal year 2009 public transportation services. Do I hear motion to table? I don't see them here.
Yeah,
Move to table. Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Have a second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. She's here.
I just walked in.
Sorry, Norma.
Just tabled.
It's tabled, man. No, come on up. Let me have a withdrawal, Mr. Gatsa, Commissioner Gatsa, to table, and a second by Commissioner Tamayo to untable it.
On tape.
Okay?
Get up here.
All right. We're punctual. How long is it going to take, Norma? Because we have a long agenda. How long is the report? We have a long agenda.
I can make it fairly short. 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes?
15 minutes is fairly short?
10 minutes?
10 minutes.
Okay.
Please, thank you.
And we have a timer.
And my official timer is here.
That's what Judge Pro Tem does. Keeps track of time.
He's in charge of time.
Okay. Well, we do have a PowerPoint presentation, but I guess I can just go through the, do you have it? Is there?
Just go on and tell us the
Okay.
report.
I'm here to provide the report for our job access reverse commute services that we provide to 3 areas in Cameron County that are provided by Brownsville Urban System. The JARC service is transportation that we are required to provide, that is intended to provide services to individuals, to take them to work, school, work training, and or daycare services. We've been providing these services since 2006 for the areas along 281 and southeast side of Brownsville, and also Cameron Park. I know you don't have the information in your packets because we were going to do the information on a PowerPoint presentation. Anyway, for Route 3 on Rockwell, we have had a ridership for fiscal year 2007 that went from 219,564 riders to 171,144 riders. We did notice a decrease in ridership on that route, but that is due to the economic situation that we're currently in as well. However, on Route 30, that services the southeast side of the county, ridership did increase by about 50%. Ridership went from 3,444 riders to 6,096 riders. Wow. The ridership around Route 31 that services Military Highway along the Paloma, up to the Paloma. We started that service in fiscal year 08. In September, we had 170 riders on that for that particular month, but throughout the year, we've transported over 3,800 passengers. Most of this ridership has been 47.5% of the ridership was used to take people to work. 22.5% was used to take them to school or work training, and about 5% was utilized for daycare services, with a total percent of the ridership utilizing the JARC services of 75% was being utilized for JARC services. We're here to request the funding that will be necessary for the next fiscal year. This fiscal year, for fiscal year 09, the funding that was contributed by the county was $88,981. For fiscal year 10, we will be requiring $105,321. We have a few challenges that have been faced, that we're faced with in this time frame. Workforce Solution has also lost about $1.2 million of their funding for transportation dollars, and Workforce Solution and Cameron County are the local partners that provide the funding for this program. This funding is provided 50% from the federal and 50% from local, which we're requesting the local is being split by the county and Workforce Solutions. That the amount that the county and Workforce Solutions and the county will be splitting is $37,319 for Route 30. The county will pay $37, and Workforce Solution has agreed if the county is able to come up with this money, they would be able to contribute that amount. Galen will be taking that information before her board on the 24th of this month. Route 31 is $41,439 that will be, the county will put in $41,000 and Workforce Solutions will put in the other $41,000. Your contribution for Route 3, the route that services Cameron Park, will be $26,563,000 for a total requesting of funding for fiscal year 2010 of $105,321.
We already had, Javier, we already had budgeted 88,000, wasn't it? Right? So we're looking at how much difference? 16,000? Okay.
And we are currently working with Workforce Solutions and TxDOT to see if they would be willing to help us with the funding situation so that we're able to continue this service. If we're not able to obtain the funding, then we will have to give notice to the public to discontinue the service probably November 1st of this year. I know that Galen has been working very closely with me to try to see if they're able to come with the funds, and she feels that she can go before her board, and if the county comes up with their share, that they would be able to come up with their share and at least save these 2 routes. I think we are probably in jeopardy of losing one of the routes, but if the county and Workforce Solution come through, then we'll be able to save these routes.
We'll be able to save the 3 routes, correct? Or are you talking about the 2?
Oh, yeah. Well, in your case, we'll save the 3 routes because they're paying for another route that they're not going to be able to pay for.
Right. Okay.
Are, the population that's using this service from Cameron Park, is it mainly for jobs in at a certain location?
Well, we know that they're not a particularly, we don't know about the location. The survey say we're going to work, and most of them say that the survey says that they are work-related trips. Specifically, what locations they're going is throughout the community, because we service several of the call centers, we service the universities, we service, we service the retail and industrial area, and we service the medical centers as well. And some of these people work in some of those areas, or also providers. We have a high percentage of our riderships that are providers.
What I was thinking is that if it was a certain company, I mean, that's important for them.
And have them pony up?
Yeah.
And we have...
Amphels. Do you know, John?
I think we've done that in the past.
Yeah.
With Amphels.
We've requested assistance from Amphels. We've also approached Convergys. We've also approached T-Mobile, and those are continuing. And even the mall, because we provide a lot of ridership to those areas, to try to see if we can get them to partner, but those are ongoing conversations that have not been very successful. But it's an area that we are also trying to leverage some of those funds to assist in providing this service.
What I'm thinking is the difference in the balance that we have, which is 16,000, am I correct? And I'm just thinking, because that's important to these companies, to have people get there. And they've done it in the past, so, perhaps they can make up the difference, which, isn't all that much, but, we're having problems with our budget.
I understand.
Yet that's important, because we don't want people not going to work because they don't have the transportation.
Right.
Doesn't the increase in ridership mean anything to how much we have to contribute? I mean, if we've had on Route 30 a doubling of ridership,
Those two.
I mean, it would seem to me that we would need to contribute less this year because there's more paying people on those buses.
Fortunately, because of the areas and the impoverished people, Route 30 and 31 are free to the public, are free to the riders.
Yeah, that's
what it is.
And Route 3,
Route 3,
of course, that's the one that had the decrease in ridership.
yes,
Got all bases covered. Galen, I just saw her walk in. How are you? Did you want to? Yeah, it's all right. We waited for you. Do you want to talk about a little bit about what you're trying to do? We're talking about the bus routes. Did you come to speak about the bus routes?
I came in support of her, and if I can give you any
Well, just that, I think Cameron Works is working, if we pony up our money, Cameron Works is going to look to match that amount, correct?
Yes, and my board does not meet till September 25th, but we actually my staff and I went out and rode the routes, to see who was riding the routes and what they were riding it for. I am going to recommend, we've had a huge cut in transportation dollars, $510,000 lost this year, but I am going to recommend to my board that we continue funding those 2 rural routes. Because we may look at trying to decrease the times, the number of runs, to try to decrease some of the costs, working with you all and Norma. But that's some people's only way to work.
Yeah, and as we've been talking about the budget for the last 4 or 5 months, it's on for discussion later on, but this is one of the items that I would encourage the court to look at trying to do and come up with $16,000 if we can. The other option, because if you don't do it, and we all know this, then you've got people that are going to be unemployed or have no way of transporting themselves.
It'll be even more.
And I know bicycles are popular and you can do that, but sometimes it's not practical for people because of whatever reason to drive or to ride a bicycle 10 miles into town.
Right.
If they're coming from La Paloma or those areas, it's not practical for them to do it. They have to go someplace else. And if you don't do that, then you risk a lot of these people becoming unemployed, and then the whole vicious circle starts. An employment rate goes up, foreclosures begin to go up, they can't pay their tax or whatever it is. So it's something that I believe that we need to do everything that we can to help fund it. It's not that much more what we're already doing, and it benefits. I mean, I know that the ridership is kind of low in certain areas, but it may be important for those few people that do ride it. It may be the difference between employment or unemployment, welfare or no welfare.
And also going to college. We've got
Right,
some
because
people
we have students that are
use
using
that
it.
service for that reason. Let me just suggest something. Well, I guess we're just really brainstorming. What was the amount that you were asking from the companies that this really makes an impact on? Or, for instance, a mall that might get, what were you asking from them?
We have, actually, right now, we're working on a strategy to put a plan together to ask them. When we went before AmFELS, and this was several years back, it was about $65,000, their contribution at the time, and we did a pilot project from Cameron Park, and they ended up, paying that for a while, but the ridership, we couldn't get the route going just specifically for AmFELS. We've had meetings, staff has meetings with convergers, but we've not narrowed down a dollar amount that we've gone to them with. We've had the conversations of having them partner with us if they would be interested, but we've not had those, we've not gone to that point of the negotiations yet.
Well, what I'm looking at is the 16,000. And being a much smaller amount, perhaps, you could go back and divide that among the entities that you think might
Well, and I think that's
be
something.
receptive since the amount is smaller.
Well, we would, but it's that we're running out of time. We have to, we need to make sure that we're going to have the money in place to be able to continue the service. The fiscal year already ends at the end of this month. With the assistance of Galen and some of funds that she was able to come up and some funds that we're going to be able to cover October. But I need a definite answer to make sure that we're going to be able to continue the service through the year.
Well, one of the things is that the budget that this money comes from has already taken a $1.3 million hit.
Right.
We have, the budget is public, road and bridge. That budget, here we are trying to balance a budget by moving $1.3 million and taking it away from road and bridge. And now I'm being asked to justify increasing this budget. And I know it's important, but we can't do the work that needs to be done in that, with that budget that exists today. We hadn't been able to do the work that needed to be done this fiscal year that we're in, with a budget that had $1.3 million more than the next budget will have, and we're being asked, everybody needs more, and we're the cash cow to go to, and I don't think that, I mean, if we're making sacrifices in our budgets, especially, you know, one particular end of the county, I think that, you know, it needs to be looked at a little bit differently. I know it's 16,000, but we're looking for 46,000 over here
Right.
to balance.
I would want for you to explore, you have a deadline, we do too.
Right,
And we still haven't balanced our budget.
yeah.
So, you know,
We're going through
and
the
I
same
agree with
situation.
you, Judge, that this is important. Some of those routes are in my precinct. I know how important they are to them, but our roads are too. And like Commissioner said, we've run short already.
Yes, it is a difficult time
And
for
it's
all
going to
of
be
us.
worse next year. So I would want for you, you know, I would like for you to put some more effort into finding the 16,000.
If I could say, unfortunately, two of these routes, and it's the two that we are helping to fund, those two rural routes, 30 and 31, what they do is they connect to other bus routes in the city. They don't take them to work, and they pick up other bus routes. So on those two, I thought the same thing you did. So there's no one entity that I can identify that's benefiting, like a specific employer, because they're connecting to other bus routes. The other thing that I said that I wanted, and I think we still need to go back, because this is a big push for me too, is that I want to take a look at just what are the absolutes? When does that bus have to run? And then I don't think that the routes, there's low riderships, and I don't think the routes have been publicized enough. They're relatively new routes, and if we step forward and do this, I want to make sure that we have a push to notify those communities that these routes are available, look at the ridership every single month, and come back and take another look in 3 months and 6 months to see if we want to continue funding it the rest of the year. That's my thought process, what I'm going to take to my board at this point. So I just wanted to point those things, those are my concerns, because, and that's Route 31 and 30. But the other routes you're talking about, I don't.
What's a normal charge for hopping on the bus?
Excuse me?
What's a normal charge?
The fare?
The fare?
It's $1, and then we also have reduced fare. It's 50 cents for the seniors and disabled.
Well, would you consider on those routes, I mean, just for the sake of discussion, because I agree, I mean, we're going to be working on our budget today again, and even with the penny increase that we're talking about, we're still $45,000 in the red. So tack on another 16, now we're back up to almost 60. And you may want to consider, I mean, I don't know, maybe do a projection of how much charging a quarter or 35 cents to the ridership, I mean, to try to make up that. I mean, and I don't know how much that will get into it, but, you know, if you know, we can do everything that we can do.
Right.
But at some point, the public has to take some responsibility for themselves, and you know what, we're going to get you to work, and
Or to
pay
a
a quarter.
doctor, or-
If it's important, pay a quarter, or if whatever the number is, I'm just throwing that out. But that's something they want to look at and see if that will make up not only our shortage, but assist Cameron Works in their shortage as well. So this is really not, you know, we've got this to talk about, we can discuss it and table it and bring it back and then hear from our accounting folks, if in fact they can find it, and then the interim, that'll give you some time to figure out, you know, if you start charging 25 cents or 35 cents of the ridership where you're charging zero,
Right.
how much would that generate?
Exactly. Now, and see, I have a question for you. Hopefully you didn't take the easy way out and say, well, we'll just go to the county and tell them we need this much. Did you do any brainstorming? Did you do any brainstorming? How can we make this up?
I'm in the process right now of writing letters to the university, writing letters to other entities that would be able to assist us with funding. But again, if these entities aren't able to come in with some funding, then we're all in the process of making some tough decisions. And my decision is, do I need to continue to struggle to get local fundings to continue this service, or just say, you know, we can't do this, and I'm sorry, we're just going to give you 30-day notice and not provide the service. But yes, I have been working with the, you know, I've talked to the city manager, I've talked to see what we can do, but we're also locally having our constraints as well.
Well, I think,
and I have also presented to TxDOT you know, I've let them know about the challenges that we're also facing, and that locally, everybody right now is financially strained. If there's anything that can be done to the applications, or where the federal amount can be increased and the local amount be decreased. But that's something that they're also currently looking at as well.
Norma?
well, I'm sure you have a passion for making this work.
Right.
So, you know, not being able to do it, I'm sure it's not in your vocabulary. What I'm sure is in your vocabulary is that you'll find a way. And I think that you've heard from us, and I'm sure John will have another suggestion, but I think that there's several things you can do to try and make up the deficit that you have. The areas 30 and 31, I'm extremely familiar with that area.
Right.
I don't think that they'd have any trouble paying a certain amount. Have you figured how much you would have to charge them in order to make up the difference? Or, I mean, have you done the numbers?
Well, it'll, you know, to come up with them, you know, the amount, you know, it'll be about $3 per person. I mean, I think that's going to be
But you're talking about the full amount. Yeah, and I think.
32,000.
I'm talking about just the amount.
$16,000 difference.
Yeah, I'm talking about the 16,000.
Okay.
Because I can assure you that, and I know they have their cars broken down, they don't have the money to fix them, and so on. So I know, you know, an array of reasons why they need this service. But I can assure you that they won't mind paying in order to get to work or get to the doctor.
Okay.
And if you were to go ahead and appeal to those entities or ANFELs or whatever, wherever these people work, and they came up with a certain amount, and maybe if you were to charge a minimum of 25 cents, you know, like the judge suggested, maybe we could make up that difference and make it minimal to the rider and minimal to the other entities that would be contributing.
And I can certainly go back and look at that and get back to you with
Yeah, a couple of
the
weeks.
information.
Because I certainly know that you're just telling me that the ridership in Route 31 has
30 and
increased. 30.
Both routes have increased, yeah.
Pardon?
Both of those routes have increased the ridership.
Yeah, and they're free.
Right, and they're free.
So there's two routes. I'm sure you can make up the 16,000 on those two routes, if you charge.
Well, I think that it would solve the problem today if we
But-
approve this agenda item, which we can, it's an action item, and just say that we are going to approve it to the tune of what we have
Whatever
budgeted,
we
which is
have in there.
$89,000. If you don't find it, well, you don't find it. But I don't intend personally, as one, finding more money to do this, because we've sacrificed in every single department in this county. You know, I mean, we're not only asking road and bridge, we asked district clerk, county clerk, you know, our law enforcement, but everyone has cut their budgets, okay? And there is no way that I could support increasing a budget to continue this. If you can find a way other than the $89,000 that we have budgeted to make it happen, I support that this year fully. And I would make that a motion.
We'll continue working on it, okay? So for now, well, it's already budgeted, right, Javier? The
It's
89,000?
budgeted already, so
Okay.
we have that for you.
So we'll keep looking for
But
that.
the difference is the 16,000.
And like Galen said, we plan to look at the routes, analyze those routes, and make sure that we are providing a service that they're being utilized at those times. And maybe we could reduce an hour here or an hour there, or, so we can go back and look at that as well.
Okay.
On the routes along, especially Route 31,
30, I guess. Oh, no, 31. How is the Lower Oregon Valley Development Rural Transportation System integrating into that?
They're subcontracting the service to us, so we manage the service and they provide the service. They provide the driver and the van. Okay. And to utilize that.
Are they charging for that, or how are they working?
Yes.
Have you talked to them about maybe them cutting back on some of their costs and fees?
Well, those are some of the things that we can certainly talk to them about, but I think it's something that could possibly address also by looking at the service and finding out when exactly the ridership is actually using those services and maybe cutting back some on the routes.
If I understand correctly or remember correctly, TxDOT no longer helps subsidize the bus system as they did once. Is that correct?
No, they currently do. We're in jeopardy in 2010. If the population exceeds...
But that's the federal money.
That's the federal dollars.
The Texas state money, though, has already gone, hasn't it?
Our state funding has decreased as well. So yes, we're not getting the same level of funding that we were getting.
But we're not going to
local level, okay?
We're not going to decrease, and I would second your motion.
And
we will definitely not decrease what we've been doing, but we can't, as far as I'm concerned,
we need the
can't come up with
services to
more.
provide to the people to get to work and get to the doctors and get to the hospitals and get to the grocery stores and everywhere else they need to go.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Tamayo to acknowledge the report and keep it at the existing budget of $89,000 and then try to find ways between now and the time we adopt the budget to make up that $16,000 shortfall.
Okay.
For them to make that.
But for them,
I think we also
all
need
of
to be
us.
looking at it.
All of us need to look at it.
We
I
need to
mean,
be looking
jointly.
at
I
it.
mean, I agree. All of us need to look at that and do not leave it up to them. We all look, and if we can do it, great.
We don't run the bus
Okay.
system, Judge. We subsidize the bus system, okay?
Okay.
We don't operate, we don't run, we don't, I think that we were looked at as a partner in this endeavor. We were a willing partner, and I think it's been great that we've been able to do the work that we have been with the funds that we have there. But I think also, as I mentioned before, that I cannot support adding more dollars to this function when I see everyone across this county having to reduce what they've got to spend. It's not fair. I mean, it's why is this okay for this and not okay for anybody else? I mean, we just went through it last week, with 2 other departments, and, we're making people, decrease the number of employees that they have in their departments. We're making people decrease the number of resources they have. We're making people find ways to cut 3.5% from their budgets. And, that being the case, I could not support finding more money.
Well, we have a motion and a second
We made a motion and a second.
Yeah, to adopt the $89,000. So what I'm suggesting is that you go back and find out by whatever, either raising fees or charging, going to private enterprise for something. I still think that we need to at least look if we can find something within here. Because even though we're partners, we're really not partners, because we're not enjoining on the losses that the bus system has every year. And you all lose money every year on bus, don't you? Mm-hmm. So really, we're contributing, but I think it's, we've talked about mass transportation for a long time, and this is just one of those elements. I agree that, we've cut these budgets and we continue to cut. If we can't find it, we can't find it. I mean, that's it, but at least make an effort to do that without affecting anything else. Dago?
Honorable Judge, being naive as to the transportation part of it, but the county and the city buses are the same, right? It's the city buses?
They're all city buses. The county doesn't have any buses.
Okay. But somebody at the last meeting said, and maybe she was a little more aware than I am, in some of those buses, I see, so we fees one, I look at it, not too many people riding. Why? Because the lady here has smaller buses to accommodate those people, so they won't waste so much.
Right, and I heard your comments at the city commission meeting that were very eloquent, and I think that's something that you need to look at too. I think that's a good idea in terms of scaling down the size of those monster trucks that y'all have. But I'm sure you're looking at that too as well and working on that as well, okay? All right?
Norma, what type of timeline does it take in order to institute a fare? public hearings or things like that?
Public hearing, yes. And we're going to be going into we're going to be having some public hearings on doing away with some of our passes. But if we need to increase the fares, we will have to go through a public hearing process, so we do have that 30-day process that we have to go through. But it's something that we could put the numbers to and decide and figure out if it's something that, the direction that we're going to be going in, then we would have to follow that process.
Well, and hopefully we can also work on our end of it and see if we can find some additional funding.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Item F, consideration approval, hold on. Consideration authorization, item E, consideration authorization to set a filing fee not to exceed $10 pursuant to section 51.708 and section 101.06117 of the Texas Government Code to fund the preservation of court records in the Cameron County District Clerk's Office. Any discussion on this, Eric?
No, I just wanted to know that this is, we're going to charge this on all the civil fees, on our civil filings, and we're going to use it to digitize our court records.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
This had never been done
So moved.
Before, by Commissioner Benavides.
It's a new law.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gatz. Any further discussion?
Question.
Yes.
How many filings do you anticipate having during the year that would be affected by this? The number, please.
An average of 3,995
Per year?
per
month?
year.
Per
year.
per year?
And that's
So it's about $39,000?
About, yes, but we're going lower than that, I believe.
Okay.
It's up to
and-
Sounds like
$10.
it's more than.
Up to 10, well, we're requesting that it be $10.
Okay.
And when you say you're going to digitize court records and preserve records
Yes.
from natural disasters, okay, are you going to be using off-site backup systems? Or are you going to be using on-site backup systems?
We're going to have the records on site, the ones that we use, which means the ones we retrieve, and the off-site will be done by either microfilm or our whoever vendor that we choose. They will keep another backup outside. Besides that, we also send a copy, as it is right now, we send a copy to the computer center, and they keep it off, away from our department.
Okay. Is it only for current records, or will it go into back year
We're
records?
going to go back also.
Okay.
That's a lot of work.
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it was already seconded by Commissioner Garza. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item F, consideration approval of personnel policy changes on section 9.09, reason for leave of absence.
Okay, this is an existing item that's on the Act, on the Family Medical Leave Act. It's just that we never had problems with people turning in their paperwork, and recently the departments have asked me to enter this 15-day as it is in the Act. And so we're putting it into the policy, but we have to get it approved by you all. So that's
What have we
it's-
been doing in the past?
Well, it was just to get it in as soon as possible, and it was working okay, but recently they've been having trouble with people turning in their medical certification. And it's mandatory that they give them 15 days. If they don't get it in 15 days, they don't get their...
That's by statute.
Yes.
So even though it's already in statute, we have to have it in policy?
Well, yes, because they said they want to see it. They don't have access to the statute, or they want to look it up.
We haven't been following that 15-day
Yes.
policy either.
Motion for approval.
Second. Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, seconded by Commissioner Gatsa. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Last item, consideration and possible action regarding FEMA reimbursements. Robert, you got my email?
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
And we have, what I did was on those audit requests, I submitted category A and B audit requests back in January 21st of this year. And since then, I've had numerous conversations with several representatives from GDEM following up on those audits. And as of today, we haven't seen an audit, but I reprinted all those P4s, and I went ahead and resubmitted them, and actually we have more in the works since we've been completing that other projects.
Okay.
So,
Do I hear a motion to acknowledge? So moved. By Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the special meeting? Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. We will now start our regular meeting. I can find my agenda. This is a meeting, Cameron County Commissioners Court, third day of September 2009. Y'all wanted to just dispense with the allegiances and all that stuff?
Let's just go
Okay,
on to it.
you've already done that. Okay. Let me take the first one. Consent items, 1A through C. Any member of the court wish to take out and discuss separately?
I have a question on B, Judge.
On item B?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take out item B. Do I hear a motion on the others to approve?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item 1B, consideration authorization for final plat approval for Bass Lake RV Park subdivision precinct 4, being in RV .238 acres of land being all of Block 6A, re-subdivision of Blocks 1 through 8 inclusive, Adams Garden subdivision, B, Cameron County, Texas, according to the map thereof recorded in Volume 9, page 50 of the map records of Cameron County. Commissioner.
My question is, do we have possibly a bond setup requirement in association with the berm and the pump that are going to be used here? How can we, how can a commissioner and the commission enforce someone not doing something they say they're going to do when we don't have a way to collect, if we have to go in there and do the pumping? That's question one. Question two, I might as well ask them all together. Question two is, the water has receded, the lake is lower, but during the last hurricane about a year ago, I had numerous calls, and it's not even in my precinct, and I'm sure Commissioner Tamayo did too, got calls on this area. Some of them were threatening litigation of which, or to which the county would be a party to, because there was potential contamination of the lake water due to the septic system, so we're all underwater in that area in the subdivision that we approved as a commission. And I think that probably answered, that's all my questions.
Very good questions, Commissioner. The question, the answer to question number one for the
berm,
the containment for the actual RV park, it is contained by berm. It does have a pump system behind it in which your runoff is collected and is discharged onto the lake. Certifications from the engineer are that it will contain a 100-year storm. The hurricane that we had was pretty close to that. So in actuality, we're going to have...
Was it contained?
Yes.
It was contained? There was...
Within the, no, not the RV at that time. The RV wasn't built yet. But that's why they built this berm now.
So we don't know if it was contained or not, because that area was underwater.
Well, we know by elevations, Commissioner, how much the water rose, and so that's an established fact. And there is this pump system that's there. It is going to be a private system. They're there to maintain it themselves. As a matter of fact, the road that leads onto the RV park is going to be private. The pump system is going to be private. The drainage is going to be really maintained by them, and that's part of the record.
Right, and I know it is, but I can tell you this day, there's a number of retention ponds in my precinct that are private that haven't been maintained in 30 years.
But I looked into, and I know where you're going with this, and I made numerous calls to the engineering department saying, make sure that it's in writing, make sure they understand they will be responsible. Unless the documentation is somewhere else, the retention ponds in my area, there's no documentation saying that the developer was going to be responsible. And that's, and I have had numerous conversations with Pete about this, that we have to ensure that we have it in writing and documented that they're responsible for it.
It is in the plat.
And this is, exactly, so
And we're
I've
notified in
called them
writing.
several times to make sure that it's very clear, and in fact, I talked to Alex, the other engineer, and I told him, I said, make sure that their lawyer gets this, and, I mean, reconfirming that it's private, and we will have nothing to do with it.
That's correct, and I think our responsibility is to make sure that it does meet the minimum requirements that we have in our subdivision rules and regulations. And
Yeah, but Mariposa met the minimum requirements, Ernesto, and look at the problems that those poor folks are going
I
through.
understand.
But there's no, we have no documentation that the developer or anyone else is responsible for the
Well, for the system.
drain,
No,
for the
because-
system.
Because there is no system other than what's there.
That's what I mean. Here, I felt like we've done the best we could on making sure we have the documentation, and their lawyer, of course, has a copy of it, am I correct?
That's correct.
Because I called to make sure they had received it, as well as the owner. And so,
I just want to make sure that, 3 years from today, we don't have an event in which we are blamed for having allowed contamination of the lake to occur because our septic systems caused it to happen, and we approved the plat.
Okay, and to answer to that question, Commissioner, and there is concern from what you can tell me, and the septic system was approved by the health department. It did meet the requirements that it's contained within the septic tank system, and that it is protected in case there is any seepage in there. So it met all the requirements of the health department as far as septic tank system or on-site sewage facility. It does meet those requirements, and that's why we're coming to the court for that. Now, as far as the second question for litigation, we did meet, as a matter of fact, with several times, well, one time for sure, with the developer and his attorney. As a matter of fact, Mr. Burst was there with us in regards to potential flooding or litigation from the surrounding area of that lake. And it was pretty much discussed, and it was established, but it hasn't been pursued anymore, is that a lot of that runoff is a natural runoff that comes into that subdivision. And the county has not obstructed anything from it as far as diverting water, any additional runoff onto it. And it's something that the plat was approved that way initially. So I think that area of liability, we looked at it, and I'm sure Richard was there, and he was there as we discussed it. We haven't heard any more from that developer or any other people as far as potential litigation.
So you're recommending approval of this?
That's correct, sir.
And Mr. Burst, you're recommending that we're legally okay with this?
Well, I need to make it clear, Commissioner, that I didn't lead on this bond. This is the first I've heard of it. What I met with their attorney and with the developer on was they were threatening litigation because they blamed the county for the flooding that existed at that time. They were saying that our system of our drainage ditches had caused the flooding. And I rode around with them and explained to them that the ditches they were saying were county ditches were simply had nothing to do with the county. They were part of the subdivision, were not county ditches. And if the natural runoff caused that, and if there were a hurricane again, it would happen again, and it is not the county's fault. I have not looked at the issue with regard to the current approval.
Your discussion was after Dolly, and as much time as we spent there, they were still complaining, and that's just the way. That's the problem we had, and I think the discussion with Richard was mainly on the fact that they were blaming us and that we were causing the problem. But that was after Dolly. On this, their lawyer is the one I'm referring to.
Yes, it's two separate.
He's been advised. He knows the wording. He knows the documentation.
That's correct.
So again, we have no bond per se of any sort to make sure that the berm remains built or to make sure that the pump is in working condition?
No, there's no bond, Commissioner. I don't know if we have, I don't know if we have the authority to impose a bond. We don't do it for any other subdivision that I know.
Well, but this is a little bit different because it's a private, everything is private, the roads are private.
They are
The road into the subdivision is private. The lift station or the pump station, whatever it is private.
It's going to be their
We've had
responsibility.
nothing to do with what they have done. It's all been a private endeavor.
Commissioners, also, I know at one time I was receiving correspondence and I talked with the Attorney General's office concerning the flooding of the existing septic system. And there were some violations they were noting. I would ask, has that been cleared up?
That's correct. As far as I know, there hasn't been any, the concern about the TCEQ of the state was that of the septic system because it would have a potential, if there was an occurrence of a spill or something like that, or an infiltration, that it would contaminate the lake. But since then, the health department has recertified the septic system, and it has been approved by them. And I'm not involved with their operation, but normally they'll tell us, yes, no, is it ready?
Well, you'd figure you'd be talking to each other, though.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. And at this time, there's not an indication that there's a problem as far as contamination or otherwise. And recommendation from the health department is that system is okay.
Now, I don't mind exploring the idea that Commissioner Garza came up with. Richard, this is a question for you. Could we legally do that?
Require a bond?
Uh-huh.
I have to go back and look at subdivision rules and regulations because it's going to be controlled by that. This is a special situation. I'm not aware of any other subdivision that's been brought up where flooding was an issue and a bond was part of the subdivision. Typically, you can require special conditions in a subdivision if you have special problems, but I would really have to look at that and look at the subdivision rules and regulations and the law governing it before I can tell you what exactly we can do.
I don't mind exploring that because we can implement that in other situations. For instance, on retention ponds.
There is a maintenance bond that we do have in place as far as requirement, but that's just for roads. The county has an additional year's warranty, extended warranty under a maintenance bond, but as far as any other bonds, I don't know.
That would give us a safety net if it can be done.
Well, Commissioner, if you wanted to table it, and I can get a chance to get with the engineer to look at it, because I have not
I
looked
would
at
want
it.
to know, because not just this situation, but there's
Any others that might
there's others, so I wouldn't,
Understand.
I make a motion, we table it, and Richard, would you bring that answer back to us?
Yes, Commissioner.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatsa to table. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item C, consideration and authorization for final plat approval for,
I think we did that.
we did see already?
That was part of
Oh,
the
that's right, I'm
consent
sorry.
agenda.
You're right.
Put your
right.
glasses on.
Yeah, I know. All right, item 2A, discussion and possible action regarding the fiscal year 2009, 2010 budget.
Judge and Commissioners, I passed out a printout or a sheet of where we're currently at. That's as of today. Some of the numbers have changed slightly, both the revenues and expenditures. Plus what's been incorporated from last week was the below were all the projected savings for a lot of the dealings with the vendors and their recommendations and implementing some of those cost savings. Those have been factored into the individual department budgets. Also, the increase in the tolls has been factored in. and the transfer to the general fund has been factored in.
Were you going to put something on the screen, or?
Yes. Well, presently, it's going to be
blank.
It's going to be the same as what I placed before you.
But for the
I'm just kind of
public,
referring to.
Rotate it counterclockwise,
Yeah.
please.
turn it around.
Rotate.
The other way.
Upside down. Upside down. All right. Zoom in.
Javier, you are posting these worksheets, the last time I checked, on our
This one is
on our website.
is not.
Not this one, but the one prior to it,
Yes,
right?
correct. What also changed in the revenues, Mrs. Galarza had reviewed the revenues again. Some of them went up, some of them went down. This is the net effect of that. The expenditures also went up. Earlier this year, the Commissioners Court had approved some additional funding for the Tropical Texas MHMR for a different program other than the regular operations. This was the first year it was approved. It wasn't in our original budget. They came, I believe it was in January or something like that. And it was an additional $87,000 for mental health services. We just received earlier this week that they were approved for that program for next fiscal year again, but it was going to require the same, the match, which was $87,000. Originally, it wasn't factored into the budget. All we had was their general operation contribution, which is $290,000. So that was factored into here.
I like to make sure that before we start giving out this money again, that we get maybe a snapshot of what we got for the money.
Correct.
Like, what did they do? What numbers of people that were seen? Like more than what had been seen in the past?
In the past, they had been coming to the court and making a yearly report as to their overall services.
Well, they don't have to come make a report, just send us a report.
Oh.
But I'd like to see what we get for the money. I mean, we invested that more money last year, 87,000 more than the normal amount that we've been doing.
Correct.
How many more people were seen, how much, or what services provided that had not been provided in the past? How did we impact the local community here in Cameron County with our amount that we provided for that budget? Because again, you know, we have solid waste enforcement officers that at the end of this month will exist no more because we had to cut our budget. And that was a grant that we needed to fund to the tune of over $100,000 that we didn't. Should we continue funding some of these programs without knowing what the outcomes are?
Correct. I can tell you this because one of the direct budgetary implications from this extension that they were performing this year was up through last year for the mental health patients that we were sending to San Antonio, strictly for court costs, it was in excess of $40,000. And that doesn't account for the transportation of getting them there and the court process is tied to that. Since this has been implemented, the actual number of people that are being sent to San Antonio has decreased dramatically to where you may get one every couple of months. And I believe the reason for they're still going is maybe that there's not facilities or room for them here locally, and then they have to send them to San Antonio.
They only send anyone out of town now, like facilities like that, when they don't have a bed available at all in the county.
Locally.
But I think, Javier, that, and I'm glad you've given us that information, but it's not your responsibility.
Correct.
They should be doing that. And it's about holding people accountable. And that's not to say that they are not doing a good job. It's just that we need to be informed.
We don't know.
And it's an accountability process. And we need to, I agree with you, Commissioner, we need to do that with everyone that comes before us.
And if we're saving $40,000 in court costs, can you pull that out?
I had already pulled it out because I saw to where we weren't, it wasn't being spent. So I reduced that budget by that amount. So after all of that, we're still just over $45,000 short. We're still working on that. We have 2 weeks left.
I had a couple of JPs that visited with me this week, and they were a little concerned about their warrant officer situation. That we, again, another department that we cut, to save $147,000. But unbeknownst to me was that there are other JPs, at least one other, that has a warrant officer position.
Yes.
Is there only one JP
Yes.
left? And their concern was, if you're doing this with our offices, why should you selectively say, you're not cutting this office? And why should we continue funding one warrant officer in one JP office when we cut everybody else's off? And I think that it would be wise if we looked at the position, see what activities have occurred with that position, and then look at possibly, being somewhat fair with all.
Unless, and I don't know the situation, unless that warrant officer took the place of a clerk or another position that maybe that JP that has a warrant officer does not have that the other JPs have. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, that position has been there as long as I can remember. There used to be one of the JP offices here in Brownsville, Precinct 2, where there was also a warrant officer position. Years ago, though, they reclassified it to a clerical position because they felt that they needed a cleric position more than the warrant officer at that time. But yeah, there's only one in Harlingen that has a warrant officer that acts as a court bailiff.
Is it taking the place of a clerk, or is it just in addition to?
When it was originally added, I couldn't answer that. Like I said, it's been several years. Presently, let me put it this way, recently the court has approved an additional clerical position for that office within the past couple of years. Last year.
We approved an additional clerk. But they had the warrant officer already.
Which means that when the warrant officer was hired for that position, it was really in the place of a clerk.
No.
And now we've added a clerk for that office. No?
So was the warrant position, the warrant officer position created at the time that we provided these warrant?
No. This particular warrant officer has been there for years and years.
This is why I was asking, was that position hired to take the place of a clerk? That was my question. And I'm hearing that it wasn't?
No, that warrant officer position's been there long before we added the clerk last year.
Yes, and it was there long before we implemented the warrant officer program to target these outstanding tickets.
To clarify things, does that JP office have more staff than other JP offices because of the fact that they have that warrant officer?
No.
No?
Well, not all JP offices are staffed the same. The one with the most staff, I would say, is one of the JP offices here in Brownsville.
Well, but I mean, in accordance with the volume that they have, I guess that's what I'm saying. A JP that has the same volume of work as this particular JP, does this JP have more staff than another JP that probably has the same volume of activity?
I don't have...
I think they're pretty fairly staffed as far as the amount of volume that they generate. I'd have to look at the actual printout and see what they're actually generating and compare it from an employee perspective. But I believe they're equitably distributed as far as the amount of collection that is being generated at each office.
Well, and the discussion came from the fact that all the other JPs in this county, after we did away with the warrant officers, have to utilize their constables and their deputy constables to serve all the warrants that they have and perform those duties. And the issue that came up was, why are you selectively targeting us that have 3 countywide when one has 1 in the office? And I says, well, I did not know or recall, that we had 1 there.
I don't recall what the justification was that was presented to the court at the time that a warrant officer / bailiff was provided to that particular JP in Harlingen. I did finish preparing the analysis, and I can forward it to you as soon as this meeting is over with, that shows the actual monies that are being credited to that particular office that has that warrant officer / bailiff. So you will be able to see the figures as to what they are generating based on the monthly reports that are turned in.
Which goes to the county.
Yes, yes.
I seem to remember that warrant officer, now I know what JP you're talking about. I seem to recall that she declined, some time back, an additional office person and said that she would rather have a warrant officer.
I don't know, but last year we approved another clerical position.
Well, that's what I mean. So if that's the case, then we do need to address that. Because originally that warrant officer was given to her for that office because of the fact that she declined another position in the office, that she would rather have a warrant officer.
I think I remember that faintly. It's been about 8, if not 9 years.
And
maybe.
it was a grant that was in place that ended, that we took over or something? No.
No, that was, that was a speed program.
That was a
Something
constable's
else.
office?
Why don't y'all do this? For the next meeting, I know you have that because we've talked about it. Bring that spreadsheet that shows all the cases, the cases that are disposed, all that stuff compared to JPs. And I think what we're going to find, and I've mentioned this back when I was a commissioner, that there's a lot of inequity between the JP offices, okay? They all get paid the same, yet their caseloads are just so different. You've got some that are hearing, a couple hundred cases a year, and you got others that are several thousand. I mean, I may be off on the couple of hundred, but it's significantly less. Their staffings are comparable, their compensation is comparable, but their caseload is not comparable, which leads us to what I believe is that we've got a lot of JPs. We have 11 JPs. And, versus our neighbor to the west, it's got 9. And they are, 70% larger than we are. And I know it's not very politically popular to talk about, but that's the reality. We have 11 JPs, versus Hidalgo that's got 9. Not to compare to Hidalgo, but I think if you start looking at even Harris County has fewer JPs than we do on a per capita basis. On a per capita basis. And you're going to find that this court may have to make a decision at some point in the near future about consolidating some of these JP precincts. It makes no sense, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but look, it makes no sense when you've got 2 JPs in Brownsville with the huge caseload that they have, and 2 JPs in La Feria that don't have that same caseload. So, and I'm not saying doing it today during this budget, but we're going to have to look at that and start, maybe as JPs retire or run for other offices or whatever, we may want to look at eliminating one of those, trying to scale it down to a more acceptable number. It's going to take some redistricting and all that. And we got more constables, so we may look at that too. So I'm just throwing that out because, if we're talking about the staffing in JPs and then, when you take it all the way, and because there's some, all the JPs work relatively hard, but if you look at the caseload, you can see that the big 4, the big 6, their caseloads are significantly higher than the ones in, Rio Hondo as an example, or Los Fresnos or whatever, or Port Isabel's got a huge caseload, if I remember the numbers right. But that's something we want to look at the next budget, but start thinking about that. On this one, I guess bring back that analysis back to us so we can decide that. And I think, Pete, you're still working on some additional cuts that he's still trying to review that'll get us down to pretty much zero this deficit out, if I remember right.
When you say Pete, does that mean from Road and Bridge?
No, Pete Sepulveda. County Administrator. No, we're not even talking road and bridge.
Oh, okay.
No, we're talking
Well,
about
you said
general.
Pete, and so I...
Yeah,
I
this
was-
Pete, Big Pete. Okay? Anything else, Javier?
Pete was, I guess he's had discussions with the sheriff recently, and there's an additional position that they feel that they may be able to eliminate, which is a lieutenant position within the jail, which it's, with fringe benefits, it's about $46,000.
Well, we have some
So,
others, I
but-
think we'd look at them all, you know, maybe obviously before the 17th, and
But we need-
come back so we can finally...
We need next
Yeah.
week. Yeah, the 17th, that we have to have the document ready.
We're
So it
ready.
has to be next week.
We'll be ready by next week.
Yeah.
Javier, let me ask you something. The maintenance crew that the sheriff was going to take over, where did that land up? I mean, I know at one time there was a number on the table for 195, and then it
Correct.
dropped down to 107 or 105. Where are we with that?
Unless we, receive some, a different direction from the court, presently, it's not being transferred to the direction, or under the direction of the sheriff. It's still staying within the maintenance department. But the proposal, or the way it was approved 2 weeks ago, it's still eliminating one slot, and the same slot was being eliminated in both proposals, plus additional operational savings.
But initially, Commissioner Arias, they were talking about $395,000 reduction.
Originally, it was based on the 25%.
Right, and that kind of quickly went away. I mean, it was not possible.
Which was
You know,
anticipated.
Okay. Anything else? No?
That's it.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge...
I have a question. It's not on the budget per se, but it is in the budget. Where did HH that we tabled and the other one go to?
That's on this other agenda,
There's another agenda?
the supplemental. Yeah.
Where?
Well, Javier, while we're still here, let me
I
ask you,
guess I don't have that, because I never
if
got
we
it.
were to go back to the sheriff's office and do what he's suggesting and let him handle the maintenance, instead of the 105, we'd be able to, we believe, or he believes, cut 195.
Correct.
That would go a long way to being able to provide the services that his office service does right now on illegal dumping, which we're looking
Correct.
at doing away with right now. Because we're getting, I mean, I know y'all are, and I'm getting, or I think y'all are, getting more and more calls on illegal dumping, which is also a problem that we're seeing based on the problems we're having economically. People are not taking stuff to the landfills. They're throwing it on the side of the roads. Even contractors are doing that because they're cutting their fees and everything. So we're having more and more illegal dumping coming out.
On the way back from the island yesterday, I found out, I don't know how many mattresses along the side of the road out by Bahia Grande. You know, I mean, they don't care where they drop it.
We're going to see more and
Just
more
state
of that
highway.
unless we start
And
enforcing
they
it.
call us, even though it's a state highway.
But again, though, the number went from 395 and it dwindled down to a lot less than 140, okay? I mean, the number,
195.
no, it went down even lower when it 107, the last number you showed us?
Well, actually, the 105, it was 195, and then 105 is where it's currently at, and that was leaving it under building maintenance.
195.
But if we don't leave it out of
105.
building maintenance, we're talking at 195.
They haven't given us a proposal for that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that they
They
did.
did.
And brought it down to what?
To 195.
195.
It went from the 3
Right, to 195.
to 195,
Right.
correct. But right now, we have it at 105.
Yeah.
Because we're leaving it in building maintenance as opposed to moving it to the sheriff's department. If we move it to the sheriff's department, it'll be 195, is what we're expecting, as opposed to 105.
So,
Anything else? You know, I would look at that. I think that's a good point. I would look, it doesn't help our budget,
No, but it
allows
services.
to keep that, whatever that is, the code enforcement.
Well, I tell you what, when I get an email, that, or somehow gets to my desk, an email that was sent out by the sheriff's department saying, you know, we're not going to be solid waste enforcement anymore. And that was from Chief Reyna, and I don't know if you all got that email. You know, I have a concern with a blanket statement being made by our sheriff's department saying we will not be doing solid waste enforcement anymore. I think it is, you know, not right. I think that solid waste enforcement should be done not only by the constables, but it should be done by all of the law enforcement officials. If they see an issue and they don't address it, I've got a concern.
You know, he was saying it because
because we took the program away. But you know, it's not the responsibility of 2 officers countywide to do it. It's everyone that is out there driving around patrolling to do it. I mean, they just got $2.2 million grant that we approved so that they could do more patrolling and more overtime. And they're only gonna be looking for drugs and money so that they can have Fund 90 money or whatever fund they have, you know? I mean, we can do everything at the same time. We can look at you know, solid waste violations that occur out there. We can look at speeding, you know, we can look at everything, you know. I mean, it's just part of the program of having a good, positive law enforcement image in the county.
Well, I have to say that in my precinct, the constables are tremendous at doing that for us. They do it on their own, or if we call them. In fact, today, I think we called them in 3 different areas.
Well, you know,
and we called the constable. It was Cesar Diaz. And immediately he gets someone out there.
and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I know that you've mentioned it and you've given them a lot of thanks for the graffiti issue, and that's not really part of their job description either, to go out and try to find graffitiers, but they did. It's part of law enforcement. And, I mean, I understand what Commissioner Wood is saying, I mean, you know, because we do need that, but at the same time, you know, every law enforcement guy should be out there, you know, maintaining the law. And it's illegal to dump. So if they see, you know what, I'm not part of solid waste, I'm going to keep going, 'cause I'm after the druggies, you know, and that's a mindset that's there that we need to assist them in changing.
Well, I have to say on catching the kids that were doing graffiti, the sheriff's department was very involved. They used their surveillance people to do it.
Yeah, and they did it, so there's a way to do it.
But Cesar did help, but on these other issues, and you know, you've got to call somebody, and I can always depend on him to get it done, and I agree with you. You know, it's written in the law that he's supposed to be doing what the warrant officers are doing. Right. But you know, when I need help, I call. And
I've had the exact same experiences you have, Mr. Mayo, with the individuals that are in my precinct. You know, they are very good. They respond, they go, they check, you know. Because if I had to wait for solid waste,
And I have to say this, and I hope my constituents hear this, because I appreciate, and I'm not going to use names, but a lot of our constituents in my precinct help us a lot, because they'll call my office and say, so-and-so is dumping, and when I have my advisory committee meetings with them across the precinct, I'll tell them, get the license numbers. So that's a big help for law enforcement. When our constituents are doing that. And I see it more and more in my precinct, because I've told them, you have a responsibility to help us catch these people. And so I really appreciate my constituents. I hope they're watching this. It comes out so late that maybe they won't be watching.
Yes, sir.
When I was a counselor for so many years, I not only stayed in my office to do counseling. If I was in the hall and I see some kids pulling out, doing something wrong, hey, brother, get back to your class, come on. See, you have to do those things. It's part of your job. And when you get out of the school classroom and you go home, then you can have your school. But what you're doing, working hours, it's up to you to help the whole system, which is your school district. I had 5 schools, and I rotated those schools, and I was the viejo muy malo. No, viejo malo, no. Very strict. And I got those kids to go back to school. You're monkeying around.
That's what it's
You're
about.
not supposed to be in class. You're not supposed to be outside. Go in class.
That's right.
That's what he's talking about.
That's great.
Law enforcement is law enforcement. If I'm doing something wrong, just because it's a sheriff, and he has no jurisdiction to stop me because of my life or something, hey, so I have, please, get off the side. Oh, get over there because you're going to hurt somebody or they're going to hit you. Sure. And you see law enforcement doing something, mira, caladito, you do the right things, you see? Did I get my driver's license? Do I have my registration for my car? No. Well, once you see a police officer, luego comienza a pensar, do I have this, do I have that, do I have the other thing? Law enforcement, they gotta do everything.
That's right. Thank you. Anything else on the budget from Javier? No? Do I hear a motion to acknowledge? So moved. By Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item B, consideration authorization of a public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2009-2010 budget. Do I hear a motion to open public hearing?
So moved.
By Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Gatsa, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. We're in a public hearing. Anybody wish to speak on the budget?
You don't have some...
No, that's for the tax rate. No? All right,
Move to close.
move to close by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo to close public hearing on the budget. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item C, consideration authorization to hold a public hearing regarding the proposed tax rate for fiscal year 2009-2010 at or below .363191. Do I hear a motion to open public hearing? So moved. By Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. We are in a public hearing. And I'm assuming that these two comments are addressing the tax rate. And let me just say, there's a lady that came in that wants to address the tax rate. I'm going to let her go first because she was here. For those of y'all that signed up to talk about the tax rate, if y'all are going to talk about something different from the last time, okay, if it's different, then I'll allow you to speak for 3 minutes only, okay? If it's different, okay? And I don't know if you're going to propose anything different. And for the lady that came in, you know, you have 5 minutes because you didn't make a comment the last time, okay? But for those of y'all that are here that want to talk about it, it makes no sense to repeat again. Everybody, you know, the court has your message, we understand your comments, but only if you have something new to add, okay? So ma'am, just come up and introduce yourself and then we'll take it from there.
Honorable Commissioners and County Judge, my name is Leticia Perez Garzoria. Some may know me from years ago. I might be a different and a new face to some of you. I come before you on 2 levels. Just as a citizen responding to the need to hold a public hearing on the matter of raising taxes on the general public. Much has been spoken of a recession. Not yet a depression. We in the Valley have enjoyed, and we do enjoy 2 economies. For many years, and for the most part, we are almost immune to any national situation. We are a unique area. We are bicultural, we are bilingual, and we have many advantages that other people, other regions do not have. We have the border. We are the border. So to that end, we're able to do things that others are not. Our proximity to the border, that is to Mexico, gives us local residents easy access to many things, to lower prices. We can cross the border, we have lower gasoline. We can cross the border and we can have ridiculously low prices for medicines. Here you're paying $150 for a medication that the doctor gives you, and you cross the border to Garcia's and you're paying $25. We are a special entity, we are a special people, and I understand that. I live it, and I think that we are in a very unique situation today, tomorrow, and forever because of our situation, our geographic situation. It is my understanding that the county is in need of raising our taxes due to some changes, by the way, which have existed for a long time. Okay? The increase or the decrease of the Mexican national crossing the border. That has been here forever. People have crossed the border. They come in, they want to spend their money over here, and that's good, okay? We are tied down to the value of the peso, okay? Among other things, there's so many things that we have unique. Another things that are cited is that the county has lost federal inmates that were housed, here locally in the county. And other things that have caused this commission to take a very serious look at their budget and how we run this county. And there are the toll bridges. There are incomes. They're very great incomes. But if we know how to use the resources, it's all about resources and how we use them. We have bridges, we have South Padre Island. We have that great resource. And the business at South Padre Island, as we know, is, as everyone should know, it's seasonal. Nobody has to explain to you or to anybody here that has lived in this valley that that is seasonal. So is the bridge crossing. Depends on the peso. It's not tied down to how we spend here or do we pinch pennies. We know that. We already know that. Okay? These are not new items to the commission. These are not new to the area. However, we have brought them forth and we have used them as a cause and effect. I don't see the cause and effect. It's been here. But we have not prioritized. We have lacked to, like I told the other commission, we're losing focus and we're losing ground. Today is not the day to step back. Today is the day to reevaluate and look, because we're hurting. Not everybody has a six-figure income. We are the poorest in the state, if not the nation, this area. Yet we have our needs. Maybe they have been needs that are real or needs that haven't been addressed. But I'm sorry to say, as I stood at the city commission and as I stand here, I have not been before this court talking to this commission, not you specifically, but in over 30 years. The last time I stood here, I was requesting a statue for Padre Jose Nicolás Bailly, of whom I am a descendant, and I asked for that statue. I haven't been here in 30 years. I don't burden people with my problems because we self-contain. We self-contain. But what do I see here? Do you know what I see? What I saw at the commission, at the other commission, and now I see here? Just handouts. Can you give me? Will you give me? Do you have? Will you? How many times do people, citizens, come and ask you for handouts? We're self-contained. We've got pride. We've got culture. But you know what? We've become soft. Because everybody wants something from somebody else. You know what? If you don't have it, you don't have it. Nothing you can do. It's not there. Se acabó. The cookie jar went dry. And it's happening to all of us. Not happening just to me or to these citizens. That's happening to all of you. But we continue to say, it's okay. It's okay. Well, is it? Is it really okay? I don't think so. We know that. We very well know that. It's not okay.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. We have poverty, we have ignorance. Poverty breeds ignorance. We need to rise above. We need to come to a level of understanding and a level of governing that we're not going to be with our hands tied and wringing our hands and our fingers. There's no more handouts. There should not be, because this creates a dilemma, and this is why we are coming out. I haven't been here in 35 years. This is why I'm coming out of my house, because we have a dilemma that we have not created. We, the citizens, have not created this dilemma. Yet we have it, and we're expected to foot the bill for it. It's your responsibility. We elected your officials, and you all get paid salaries. We began to think, did we make a mistake? I voted for Mr. Cascos because he is an accountant. What do you do when you're an accountant? You work with numbers. What do you do when you're a good accountant? You're very good with numbers. What do you do when you're an exceptional accountant? You never lack for business. I don't want to sound, and none of what I have said has been redundant. I don't think I've said anything that I said before, but I said to you that I came to you on 2 levels, and I have. I refer to myself as a citizen, taxpayer. That's a level, and that I am the great-grandniece of Padre Jose Nicolás Valle, the original owner of Padre Island. In 1928, in this courtroom where you sit, Judge Oscar C. Dancy, as history would reveal, defrauded our family. And he told us, you have that island, it's yours. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Could you give us permission to cross the bridge so people can go and fish? Being a good religious family said, sure, why not? Well, before too long, it wasn't fishing. It belonged to them. That's where the park sits, your park, Isla, Queen Isabella Park, or whatever it's called, Isla Blanca. And you know, I'm not sitting here through sour apples or sour grapes. I'm just saying one thing, and I'm saying it as politely as I can. The county, since 1928, has made millions, if not billions, of dollars from Padre Island through resources, through oil, through gas, through money, through levies, through whatnot. And you know what? Where are they? Millions and billions. If you'll please forgive me, I don't have a sentimental tear for this crisis. Because somehow, through the years, through whatever manipulation there was, we sit here in the same dilemma, a new year. I, as a citizen taxpayer, as a resident, as an heir to South Padre Island, and the niece of Padre Jose Nicolás Valle, I say to you a resounding no to new taxes for all the stated reasons. And I thank you for you working together, because I see Ms. Tamayo works very hard. I see Mr. Garza works very hard. I've never been here. I haven't been here in 35 years. But what you see is worth 1,000 pictures. But I want to thank you for what you've done. And I hope that many of you, if not all, could give us excellence, accountability, and a little bit of pride. I'd like to have some pride that we're getting on with the job, we're able to work together, and you know what? Let's not have these dilemmas, because we need to be proactive. If you know your business is seasonal, then you plan ahead. If you know the peso's devaluating, then you plan ahead. So many things that we can do, and I sincerely hope that your handouts are very scarce. We cannot afford it. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for whatever, and thank you for your comments, whatever comfort it may bring to you, this budget shortfall that we face would start off at a little over 5.6 million, is now down to 45,000, or más o menos. Yeah, and of that 5.6 million, if the court decides to adopt a 1 penny or less tax rate, is about 1.3 million. So the difference has been a combination of budget cuts and transfer from what you heard earlier from the road and bridge system. The road and bridge system has nothing to do with our international bridges. That's the money that is spent to improve the rural areas. No one here, and I don't, Dago and Ms. Gomez is here, and Ms. Becerra was here, heard us last time, that nobody up here wants to raise taxes, because we all pay it. What happened with the toll bridge in terms of the revenue shortfall, that's something that we anticipated last year. Well, I thought this was going to be a tougher year. I think next year, we'll probably be in a little bit better shape, but this year we anticipated. But we didn't raise the toll rates last time. We left them the way it was. We hadn't raised tolls in, I guess, 4 years, maybe, since 2005. And we're going to have to raise them. Unfortunately, this county has become dependent on the revenues generated by the bridge system. It's been like that for a long, long time, long before any of us were here, and probably long before after all of us are gone. If it were not for that bridge system, our tax rate would be what Hidalgo County's tax rate is, or Nueces County. They have a hospital district too. Our tax rate, and I know it's money, but is still one of the lowest tax rates in the state, and especially along the border. But we would be at 17 cents or 18 cents or 15 cents more if we did not have the revenues from the bridge system. So in the last 2 years, we lost over $3 million. And I don't say we lost it, we just didn't make it. So no ganar es perder. So if we didn't make it, we lost it. And we adopted our budgets based on a certain flow of income. Well, that income did not come in. And we don't anticipate it coming in. That's why we had to raise tolls, about 25 cents. I know it's a lot of money for people that cross every single day. But at the same time, it's either that or you raise the tax rate another penny or half a penny and continue with cuts. And so of the 5.6 million, I think we've cut, I want to say maybe close to 3 million, if not more, from within, coupled with eliminating positions. I think we're eliminating 26 slots. Do you remember 26 positions? Some people that will probably be unemployed, some slots that are vacant. So we're doing everything that we can from this side, not only to balance the budget, but keep that tax rate to only a penny. And listening to the city there, they're looking at 2 pennies. I don't think they're going to do that. I really don't, and I hope that they don't, but again, we can't control what other governmental entities do. We have to balance our budget, and this commission, along with the people sitting on this side over here, have worked very hard, especially since about the late May, early June, to try to get these numbers down. But I guarantee you that no one here is an advocate of raising taxes, but at the same time, we do have a duty to balance and adopt a balanced budget and continue to provide services. We're talking about the bus system right now. They may end up cutting a service because they cannot afford to continue a route. You know, Tony Saguier, who's in the audience, or he's back in the back, because he came to us with a cut, he has to cut services at some of its satellite offices because he cannot fully fund them. And there's other things that are occurring that we're going to have to reduce services in lieu of raising taxes. So it's another thing we want to do. I want to thank you for expressing your concerns, and you know, I guess you're going to have to just put your faith in this commission that we're doing all that we can to keep those dollars from, I mean, taxpayers are not ATM machines. And I recognize that. But at the same time, we do have a responsibility to you who voted for some of us to make sure that we spend those monies wisely and efficiently. And unfortunate taxes is just one of those things that we have to do. And I welcome anybody, members of the court, the public, you're welcome to go into our budget. You're welcome to set up an appointment with our budget officer or our auditor and let them go over the budget, and you tell us where you think we can cut more. And the only place to cut more is in people. So then we've got more unemployed people. So, but I welcome that, and we've been doing that. Sit down with them and make an appointment and go over the budget, and they can explain to you why that number is so much. Yes, ma'am? That's correct. That's correct. No, he came up with a little over $100,000 from his budget. What we were asking to do, we started off at 5%, and then that wasn't working very well, and we came down to 3%. So we asked everybody to attempt to do a minimum of 3%. And I will tell you, all the departments that could did. But we have departments that are 1 or 2 people, and their biggest line item is people. They have no place to cut.
Judge, I think that the reference you're making is the district attorney makes a salary from the state of Texas, and then it's augmented by that $26,000.
Oh, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yes, ma'am,
Yes.
there's a combined, that's the 26 that you saw.
And you thought he was overpaid, right?
The 26,000 that you saw is the amount of money that comes from the general fund of the county. The rest is state dollars.
Yeah, the same thing with the district judges. We contribute, I don't know, 15, 18,000 to their salary. The state of Texas puts in the balance. That's why they show real little. Okay?
And in most cases, we contribute the maximum allowed by statute or by law in the state of Texas for the salaries of the judges.
And now that we're on topic, let me say that not a single elected official, to my knowledge, grieved for more money. So I think the message was clear that there's no money. So I want to thank all the elected officials for working with us as well and cutting their budgets and not grieving for more money during these difficult times. So I want to thank that. Okay. Douglas, you want to say something? You got 3 minutes.
I like that ATM. I'll be using the big bank, but I like that ATM. I'll use somewhere else too.
Well, just as long as you give me credit for it.
All the crimes that you did and so forth, and the weeping and so forth, I almost decided to give you a $45,000 check out of your budget.
We welcome it.
Tax deductible.
Okay, you just used up 2 of your minutes, so.
Honorable friend, Judge, our Brownsville son, our commissioners, and my fellow Americans. This is only 1 page, so.
Thank God.
Okay.
Talk quick.
We got the timer going.
The American people are smart enough to know that they cannot borrow themselves out of this mess. This holds true for our city and county. When you borrow from outside sources, eventually, we taxpayers must pay for it. It's a disastrous, wrong thing to do. We deserve a city and a county that functions modestly, truthfully, cautious, and frugal with our money. Our citizens don't appreciate a smoke and mirror performance. I'm really concerned, really, I am concerned about America. I'm going to die just like everybody else, but I'm concerned that this nation must survive in the world because we're the last hope for civilization. We don't want a nanny state. My friends, you people, don't take a bigger bite out of my seniors and local paycheck. Don't imitate a Washington trend, but rather a free dead, no stimulus check, like Texas. Republican Perry didn't take any money. That's a good man. Honorable County Judge, Commissioners, don't sell us out for 30 pieces of silver. If you pretend that any further debt can easily be avoided, you will go down in the annals of county legislators as Ray Ramon, T.B. Valencia, Conradito Cantu, and all the bad officials. You will be writing your own epitaph on your tombstone. Listen to common sense reason. Be loyal to your past ancestors who forged this great republic, if we can keep it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 2 minutes and 42 seconds. Quick question of Martha. We have not, this budget does not include any new debt, does it? No? Okay. Just for the record, this budget includes no debt, no new debt.
And the only money Rick Perry didn't take was the money that was for the unemployment benefits. He took every of the other pennies he had available. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Except
The only thing he didn't take
running out of unemployment.
was unemployment. And guess what? And guess what? That fund is depleted today. He was up in Washington a few weeks ago looking for money.
Asking for money. Todos quieren from Washington.
Thank you, Robert. Ms. Gomez, same rules apply. If it's something new, fine. If it's something the same, then you got 3 minutes.
My name is Rebecca Gomez, and basically I stand in my position that I object any hike in taxes, and also feel that the county should find some way that private investment can help us create jobs. I really think Boca Chica, and I continue on that, because I think I compare it to Padre Allen, and I heard Ms. Garzoria say, touch on the part that where is all the money going? Like the cars that going to the beach. I mean, I've counted hundreds and hundreds of cars in Isla Blanca. I mean, I know there's revenues there. And then I know that you're saying that the main budget or collections are with the bridge, and that has been forever, and that will probably continue to be the case. But do we need to change that? I mean, at some point, and I understand the peso may play a role, exactly, thank you, a role in what's going on, but also all the immigration laws that are coming in, people are not coming over here to shop. Something is happening at the bridge, and I know that's beyond your control because it's federal regulations or whatever, but you can raise all the monies you want at the bridge, pero si no viene la gente, y no está viniendo la gente a comprar. And I know that because I have to go to Mexico to get my medication, and I drive because the bridge gets hard and my car is not that new, but anyway, I see all the people that are coming over here. Nadie viene con, no veo yo con planes de compras, but that's neither here nor there. Insisto que no deben de subir los impuestos de las propiedades. And I insist on that, and of course, I'm just me, and I say that I speak on behalf of all the taxpayers. There may be taxpayers. I can afford to pay a penny. I can afford it, and I have to afford it, or I'm going to lose my property. But there's people that can't, and it's really not fair. It's not fair, and then a lot of August 4th, I don't know how many houses, 25 or 30 houses, went up for auction. And it's like Mr. Garza said, Commissioner Garza said, everybody has to pay their, I understand that. I'm not saying anybody should be immune to paying taxes. We have to pay our taxes. But I'm just saying that there has to be a way that maybe if you eliminate the privatization of the delinquent tax collection, we can find a way to work with the people, and the county can generate more taxes. I don't know. You're the guys with the power. You're the people making the decisions. I'm just a voter, and I'm a taxpayer, and I will be impacted if the rates go up, as I'm sure a lot of people will. And basically, I'm standing on my same position, sir.
Well, we are, like, as we suggested the last time, we are looking at that delinquent tax contract.
But that won't help us.
But that won't help us this time. You know,
I understand that.
Yeah, and the foreclosures are occurring not necessarily because we're raising a penny or 2 pennies. There's a lot of things that are influencing that, and most of it is interest rates and loss of employment.
Loss of
You know,
employment,
and those are the main things, and we're doing everything we can. to minimize and mitigate that tax rate
I realize
increase.
that, and I know it's a tough job, and I know it didn't happen overnight, and it doesn't rest all on your shoulders, Judge. I mean, we have the economic recession, or more like a depression, but I'm just a taxpayer, and I really object to the raising of taxes.
Well, thank you. We're in it together. Thank you. Any other public comment?
Judge, I told the city that you're only raising one penny and you're raising two. Maybe that will emulate you. Only one penny.
Oh, let's hope so. All right, thank you. Anything further? No? Do I hear a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides and by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this part of the meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Gatz. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Supplemental agenda, consent items 1A.
Two of us never got that agenda, but we'll go ahead and...
Okay, then we'll read it. Sheriff Lucio, Chief Leinart, Captain Reyna, and Norma Hawkins to travel to Winter Haven, California on 9/21 to 9/24/09 to attend the Southwestern Border Sheriff's Coalition annual meeting.
Judge, I had pulled that on the other agenda because that item was on the previous agenda. And here we are listening to these folks talk about the budget, talk about how we spend our money. And we have, I thought 5 people, but evidently it's 4 people that will be traveling to California for a sheriff's, Southwestern Border Sheriff's function. I think that in the spirit of saving money and in the spirit of doing what we need to do, that, we have one sheriff in this county, and we should send one person to the sheriff's conference, not 4 people. I don't know how everybody feels about it, but...
Make a motion.
I move that we approve one person to attend, and that's our sheriff.
Or whomever he designates.
Or whomever he designates.
This is grant money.
Well, when I see grant money being spent for 4 people at a casino resort, I'm going to answer to the folks that I'm responsible to. If this commission wishes to send 4 people, so be it. I will move that we send one individual, either the sheriff or his representative, to the meeting, and that's it.
Was that scaled down to 2 or 1?
No.
Oh, no.
Originally 5 were going?
It was always going to be 4.
Yeah, it was always going to be 4, but in the item that was in the special meeting, we had included Chief Deputy Reyna, and in the supplemental, after we did that, we found out that it was Captain Reyna that was traveling, not Chief Deputy Reyna.
Oh,
So that's the
what it
only
was.
change.
Oh, that's what the change was.
Okay.
Are there any hours involved in this, or?
I looked up the agenda online, and it had not been yet posted, but there were no accredited hours that were on there. No.
Okay.
Did you make the motion?
I have a motion
And I'll second that.
by Commissioner Gatsa to allow for one person to travel to Winter Haven, California on September 21st to the 24th. Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion?
I'm not sure what all this particular conference is going to cover, but I think, don't they talk about other grants that come in at this conference? And doesn't the grant that would be paying for this, isn't that part of these conference monies? I know that there's the Southwestern Border Sheriff Coalition who has brought monies into the border from the federal government for the last few years that have assisted in providing additional police protection, sheriff's protection, whatever you want to call it.
But I think the issue, does it take 4 people to go do this? I think that's the...
Very well may. I
That's the
don't
issue.
know.
I don't know whether it takes 4 people or one individual. I'm sure that part of their agenda is to discuss how they're going to accomplish their program initiatives for which they're getting the federal funding for. However, there is nobody here to address it.
Well, the initial organization was the Texas Border Sheriff's Association.
That's correct.
They were the ones that have been successful in getting some of these monies. This organization is Southwest U.S. Sheriff's Association, which includes sheriffs from Brownsville to California, okay? And it's a new organization. They have recently formed as an organization. And, that's all I could gather and find out about this organization.
I have another question. Are any of them officers in this organization? Do you know?
I don't know.
It's a brand new one.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I would, and I know you all have a motion on the table, but I would move that we allow the sheriff and an extra person to go with him, if not all four of them, especially because of the fact that we aren't paying for it. Is that what you're saying, Mrs. Galarza?
This is federal funding. I'm sure it comes from, the majority of federal funding comes from taxpayers.
Well, and I understand that. I understand that. What I'm saying is not coming out of our county funds.
It is not coming from county funds per se, yes, that is correct.
I have enough confidence in the sheriff to believe that if he feels like he needs 4 people, 3 besides himself, that he has good reasons for that. I see that, we're talking about Chief Leinert, who's in charge of the jail system, Captain Reyna, who's the administrative chief, or captain in the sheriff's department, and Ms. Hawkins.
Okay, do you want to accept Commissioner Benavidez' friendly amendment and have him include one?
Not at this time.
Okay, so you're stuck, okay. So I was moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo to authorize one person to travel, either the sheriff or a designee. If there's any change to that, I guess you can bring it back.
Well, if it doesn't pass, then I'll maybe be amenable to accepting.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, it passes. Item A, action item, discussion and possible, that's one person only. Discussion and consideration to appoint a board of adjustments to review variances to Padre Islands. Richard, what is it? Where's Richard go?
Can I approach the bench? Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
Approach the bench.
You can approach the bench. So I can find you in contempt. Arrest this man.
And,
Judge, you want to go ahead.
I'm sorry, before he says, and perhaps we need, as much as I would want, and I know that the sheriff makes excellent decisions, he does a great job, but again, I think we've had a big wake-up call about the fact that we're going to stay serious about cutting as much as we can, and I think that this is a message to everyone, every employee, every elected official, that we need to have them recommend exactly what it is that they need when it comes to travel. And the reason that I went ahead and favored Commissioner Garza's motion is that I couldn't see any justification if they were officers, if they were, but I didn't have any of that in here except that they were going to go. And I'm not saying they wouldn't do a good job of going to meetings. That's not what I'm saying. But from what I had here, I could not see that we needed more than one person going. Okay, Richard.
You have 3 minutes.
Commissioners and Judge, reason this is on the agenda is we have, you've already authorized the zoning commission. The same statute that enables the county to have zoning on the island also authorizes a board of adjustment with one difference. It says may. You have to have a zoning commission, but you may have a board of adjustment. It doesn't tell you what happens if you don't, so you have to figure that if you didn't have one, the Commissioners Court would act as the board of adjustment. There's no case law AG's opinion saying that, but that's the logical conclusion you would have to come to since it says may. Because what a board of adjustment does, first of all, a zoning commission will make the recommendations, make the zoning districts and the regulations with each district. But they don't grant variances. They do not have statutory authority to grant variances. The Board of Adjustment is where the legislature gives the authority to grant a variance from a regulation. So that if you want a variant, you want a corner cut, or you want a setback difference or a height difference, those are variances. The zoning commission does not do that. Okay, the Board of Adjustment does. Now, there is one caveat here, and that is that the existing ordinance that was passed initially in 1954 does create a Board of Adjustment. So what you're stuck with right now is what you've got in the ordinance that was passed in 54.
if you want someone to consider a variance, it's got to be a Board of Adjustment that you appoint the members for.
Or us.
You can, no, Judge, I'm saying right now, you
So do we have
can...
to appoint somebody today, or just... give
No,
us
not
notice that
today.
we need to do that at some point?
I'm here for directions and explain to you. You can have no Board of Adjustment, or you can have a Board of Adjustment. Statutorily, you could amend this ordinance eventually to where you do away with the Board of Adjustment, and the Commissioners Court becomes that body. But right now, you've got an ordinance in place that's going to be reviewed by your zoning commission, and that ordinance right now says, it starts out with, there is hereby created a Board of Adjustment. So you got one. You just don't have it filled. All right, there's no position there. So if you want to have one to consider variances, in the meantime, until the zoning commission has a chance to act, then you have to make appointments, and we can put it on a subsequent agenda to do that. There are 5 positions, and we do have currently an application for a variance that's been submitted to engineering, and that variance will require a variance also to subdivision rules and regulations, but it will also have to, it would have to be a variance from existing zoning ordinance, so that's where it is.
Is there anywhere in the statute stated whether or not the group that we appointed could serve as a Board of Adjustments?
I don't think.
Well, the statute doesn't address that, but it's separate. No, I think that would be very difficult. There are 7 members of the commission, and there has to be 5 on the Board of Adjustment, and there's a reason for
Could the
that.
same guy serve in both boards?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
A lot of cities have Board of Adjustments and planning and zoning commissions. 2 or 3 of the members of the planning and zoning commission serve on the Board of Adjustments.
That would seem to make sense.
Yeah, you can do that. That's,
Okay.
but we can only be 5.
The 3 minutes are up.
Okay.
You asked the question, Commissioner.
Thank you, Richard. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge?
So moved.
Acknowledge. Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries.